Wait a minute, this love started off so tender, so sweet. But now she got me smoking out the window.
Must have spent 45,000 up in Tiffany's.
Oh no!
Got a badass kids running around my whole crib like it's Chuck E. Cheese.
Whoa, whoa!
Put me in the jam with an X-Man in the UFC. Can't believe it. I'm in disbelief. This bitch got me paying her rent, paying for trips, diamonds on her neck, diamonds on her wrist, and here I am all alone. I'm so cold, I'm so cold. You got me out here smoking out the window, smoking out the window, singing, how could she do this to me? How could she do this to me? Oh, I thought that girl belonged to only me, but I was wrong, 'cause she belonged to everybody. Just the other night, she was gripping on me tight, screaming Hercules. Got me in the club looking for a new love, someone help me please. Baby, why you doing this? Why you doing this to me, girl? Not to be dramatic, but I wanna die. This bitch got me paying her rent, paying for trips, diamonds on her neck, diamonds on her wrist. Here I am all alone. I'm so cold, I'm so cold. You got me out here smoking out the window of the Benzo, singing, how could she do this to me? How could you do this? Oh, I thought that girl belonged to one thing for sure, one thing for sure. But I was wrong. She belonged to everybody. Yes, she belonged to everybody. Yes, she belonged to everybody. Oh no! Look here, baby, I hope you find whatever it is that you need. But I also hope that your trifling ass is walking around barefoot in these streets. Look out! Girl, it breaks my heart that you ain't right here with me. Now I gotta give you back to the city. Oh, you got me smoking out the window, singing, how could you do this to me? How could you do this, baby? Oh, I thought that girl belonged to only me, but I was wrong. She belonged to everybody.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the live stream, folks. Welcome to the live stream. Today, we're reacting to more of a Nick Bate story of the Grossest Man Online, the original Horrorcow, Part 4, as we get into more of... Oh yeah, I gotta turn on my camera. Now, if you don't know who Nick Bate is, Nick Bate is a horror cow, or one of the first, I should say, the first horror cows, or the original horror cow. And also, it's this video is by Kinsella McFly. Or her name is Cecil McFly. Or McFly. Shout out to her, by the way. Shout out to her. But yeah, we're gonna be reacting to more of Nick Bate's history of the internet. The Grossest Man Online. The original Horrorcow. Nick Bate, everybody.
detailing these relations that talked about Anna, which read, community/peer relations. Nick does not have any peer relationships in the community. He has a strained relationship with his family members. He developed a relationship with some individuals online when he was a teenager. One individual is Anna, and she has blocked all contact with him, although he continues to make attempts to contact her electronically.
Dude, you have to stop contacting her. She's not into you. And you're just being creepy.
Nick firmly believes that he and Anna will eventually marry, and he continues to ignore her request to not contact her, and the more recent request of the police to stop all contact with her. He believes that she resides in California, but stated that he has no plans to go to California to find her. Quote, because I would need an escort, because I wouldn't know how to go about getting there, unquote. He also reported that he will continue to try to contact her, although, quote, I wouldn't commit a major crime to reach her, but probably a misdemeanor. Also, in a section, the psychiatrist noted that Nick did smell very bad. In another part of the evaluation, it was noted he got physically violent with his mother and left bruises, as well that he fantasizes about violently murdering his stepfather, mom,
Whoa.
The doctor notes his behavior functioning is concerning. The most disturbing section detailed his sexual perversion, and this read, Nick also reported having sexual fantasies that involve him having anal sex with women and young girls. He reported that his fantasies include both rape and consensual sex. His sexual fantasies involve feces, as he reported that he becomes sexually aroused by fantasizing about women defecating, and that he has used feces when he masturbates. He does frequently view pornographic tapes that involve the above, although he reported he has not been able to access child pornography. He stated that he has never been sexually intimate with anyone. His only sexual encounter was around the age of 13, when he and a female teen cousin touched each other, and this was reported to be consensual. Nick shared his journals with this evaluator, which included numerous writings about sex and violence. He had written about being angry with his aunt and described how he would like to anally rape her. He reported that he does not necessarily fantasize about his aunt, and that he wrote that statement out of anger. At one point, he wrote how something was falling from the sky, and he thought it was semen, but later realized it was rain. On the MMPI-2, Nick's responses on the schizophrenia scale were quite high, T equals 112. Specifically, his high score on the social alienation subscale, T equals 105, suggests that he perceives that he is mistreated and misunderstood. His emotional alienation score, T equals 98, indicated that he has a significant amount of fears, depression, and apathy. Additionally, the high T scores on the lack of ego mastery, cognitive T equals 90, and co-native T equals 92, scales are consistent with someone who fears losing control, feels as though life is unreal, and likely responds to stress by retreating into a fantasy world. His response to the thematic apperception test, TAT, suggested some problems with reality orientation. He described one picture as a house in a snowstorm with eyes in the background. Quote, that's like a ghost or something, unquote. On another card, he saw a figure in the background and stated, quote, that's like a dog wearing a hood, unquote, but later added that he did not know why a dog would be walking upright, wearing a hood. The evaluation concluded he has social phobia, depression, paraphilia, and schizotypal personality disorder. The recommendations for Nick closed the evaluation, which read, 1. Nick is an individual who is suffering from several depressive symptoms that appear to be minimally responsive to medication and therapy at this time. In addition, Nick appears to have a significant problem with cognitive distortions, and his orientation to reality is tenuous. It is likely that his social isolation, which allows him to spend most of his day fantasizing, is contributing to his overall impairment. While Nick has not acted on any of these impulses, based on the level of specific violent details involved in his fantasies and his grossly impaired judgment, it is strongly recommended that Nick be referred to a partial hospitalization program where he can be supervised and treated on a daily basis. This type of environment will also be able to provide him with a safe environment with structure to work on decreasing his anxiety related to interpersonal contact. If Nick is unwilling to attend a partial hospitalization program, his status should be monitored frequently by his intensive case manager to determine if inpatient treatment may be necessary. 2. With regard to his violent sexual fantasies that involve both adults and minors, it is recommended that a comprehensive psychosexual evaluation be conducted as soon as possible. It is recommended that a residential treatment center be considered due to the violent nature of his thoughts. 3. With regard to his housing situation, Nick has questioned his ability to live independently. Presently, his judgment and decision-making abilities are impaired, and it is questionable whether he would be able to function appropriately if faced with an emergency in his home. Based on this, it is recommended that a residential program be considered. On August 4th, Nick tweeted multiple times about thinking of himself as female. To my knowledge, he currently identifies as male. After that, Nick began to tweet obsessively about Hitler, most likely trying to be edgy for attention. Behavior like this is why so many people overlooked his pedophilia proclamations. On August 29th, 2013, Nick tweeted out, "What with all these sexy children coming into the store? I think I figured out my preferred age range. 8 to 10 seems about right." It is believed Nick began to work at a family-owned store, as referenced.
Oh no. This guy is getting even worse. When time goes on, it just keeps getting worse and worse.
In the tweet. Again, the gross tweets continued. There's only so many tweets I will read about anal before it becomes redundant, so I will just read off highlights. On October 28th, 2013, Nick tweeted out a picture of one of his rotten teeth falling out. A day after Christmas, December 26, 2013, Nick tweeted out, "I kind of want my own JC Duggard, except I would keep her less than 18 years, because I don't really like adults. At puberty, I'd go kidnap a different child, and the cycle repeats. This is a hypothetical, of course. I'm too timid to kidnap and sexually assault." 2014. 2013 passes, and 2014 comes. And on January 18th, 2014, Nick made a new live journal titled, "Kentucky Don't Exist." Saying Kentucky doesn't exist is some joke or something. I don't get it. Then, on January 29th, Nick got admitted to an inpatient hospital and was released, with no spectacular updates to what happened during his stay. He tweeted out on February 13th, "Well, that sucked," and that he finally got released. He detailed the stay 2 days later, writing, "I was hospitalized, so I got involuntarily committed to a psych unit again. It was terrible. What happened was I was at my usual therapy appointment, and I was asked what all my problems are, a lot. In response to the problem of my occasional dark thoughts, she told me to write an essay describing one example in great detail. When I did this, she said it was worrisome and called crisis intervention, who said I should be hospitalized. I was in there just a day under 2 weeks. I don't know what was worse, being around people constantly, or the boredom stemming from not being able to listen to my iPod or anything. I did make a couple of hospital homies who helped pass the time. These 2 girls said I was cute, which was a surprise because I always thought I was ugly. Why did nobody tell me this before? Also, another girl who looks exactly like my wife, before the weight gain, flirted with me, I'm pretty sure. She sat next to me in one of the groups and intentionally bumped my arm. Then when I looked at her, she was smiling at me. It was pretty cool, and I take it as a good sign about my wife." On February 25th, 2013, he tweeted out, "Great, to stop my cat from peeing on my desk, I put a bunch of stuff on it, so he can't even get up there. So he goes and pees under it. So his place smells like cat piss, and cum." Meanwhile, on March 28th, 2014, the smell of cat piss in his apartment got so bad there was a formal complaint. On April 3rd, 2014, Nick's aunt threw away the pillow he came all over while pretending it was Anna. Nick tweeted, "I'm pissed. Joyce threw out my Anna pillow again. This is the 3rd damn time." On June 11th, 2014, Nick tweeted out a barrage of tweets saying he killed birds as a child, peed himself in school, and
Okay, that's... You're just digging your hole even worse. Hello, viewer who's watching. Today we're reacting to a Nick Bate story, The Grossest Man Online, the original Horrorcow. Thank you for tuning in and watching. But this guy is just digging his hole deeper and deeper and deeper.
and more disturbing things. July 14th, 2014, Nick tweeted out a photo of Anna with the caption, "I imagine this is what she looks like when she's pooping." It's been 6 years since Anna blocked him. Finally, something sort of interesting happened. On August 19th, 2014, Anna joined Kiwi Farms to talk about Nick in a long post telling her side of the story. She explained she met him online when she was 12 or 13 and that he was very clingy, but she didn't get freaked out until 2008 when she did eventually block him. She explained after she blocked him on all accounts, he called her at her house, even though she never gave him her number, and this really terrified her. Anna was obviously creeped out and still terrified of Nick years later. She stuck around to answer more questions, but most importantly, she emphasized that Nick probably did harm his half-sister and only backtracked when he received backlash. She also informed readers of the forum that she did try to go to the authorities about Nick, and the sheriff dismissed the concerns. Anna stuck around on the forum as Uncanny to answer questions about Nick's obsession with her. She told forum dwellers that Nick would threaten her ex-boyfriends and threaten to visit her in real life. Nick soon got wind of Anna posting to the forums and tweeted out on August 20th, "A person claiming to be my wife is posting in that thread. Seeing as how she knows a lot about me, it's pretty safe to assume she's real. She's still displaying hatred of me, but on the other hand, she's still thinking about me, so that's a start. If I had internet access, I'm kinda tempted."
She's not into you, man. You gotta stop. And it never ends with this guy. It never ends. This guy's just digging his hole deeper and deeper and deeper as it goes in, and chat can agree that this guy is just out of his mind.
To post in that thread too, and try to defend myself, and also try to win over wife. Also, idea. Wife said what she hates about me the most is my stupidity, so maybe I could film myself doing some math. The owner of Kiwi Farms, Null, immediately responded to Nick, writing,
At Nick Bate. If you join my forums, I will ban you and delete your posts before they're read. Kill yourself.
Eventually, Null made the thread members only, so Nick couldn't stalk Anna further. Nick tweeted out about this on August 21st, writing, "Yo, what? They made the thread members only. Well, that's not cool at all." Nick continued to tweet, and Anna continued to answer questions. There's only so many times I can detail Nick's horrific stalking of Anna, and there's only so many tweets about butts I can read. You all get the picture. Someone summed up Nick's online presence by describing him on Twitter as, "Hey everyone, please troll me." Sometime around October 17th, 2014, Nick posted another dance similar to his booby dance, where he danced shirtless and poured liquid on himself. Notable here is you can see his apartment and the clutter near his doorway. He apparently wiped poop on the walls in this apartment. In fact, a day before this video, Nick tweeted out, "Arg, my bee ant came into my apartment and made me clean some of the feces off my walls. No, I want it there, damn it." He continued on his poop rant, writing, "They want to kick me out of the apartment because I can't clean. Good luck with that. I have nowhere else to go until wife reciprocates. Why do normies not want feces on walls? I even asked Bee Ant, but she wouldn't give a straight answer. She just said not to put it there. Meh. When I'm living with wife, I hope she lets me poop up the hoose. And I want to use her poop too, not just mine." Another interesting update
What the
on the stench
heck?
of Nick came on December 10th, 2014, when he tweeted out multiple times that his cat was peeing all over his apartment. If you've ever had a cat or known someone with a cat pee is one of the most horrendous smells, because cats are meant to live in extreme climates, and therefore they need to hold on to moisture and hydration longer, which makes their pee more concentrated. Once an item gets soaked in cat piss, it will stink of it forever, and there's no way to fix it except to throw away the soiled material. The next update on Nick's hygiene came out 3 days later, when he said he will no longer brush his teeth because it wasn't fun. On the same day as this, Anna was asked if the police ever intervened in the child molestation claims Nick had made. She said that the police had been called on him and that people have reported him, but nothing legally had ever happened to him. She did, however, encourage people to contact child services about Nick's behavior. Nick, throughout the years, had been keeping up an Ask FM account, a website where you ask people questions. And since he had been found by trolls, he received many questions. On December 21st, he was able to access a computer again and answered a lot of these questions, mostly talking about Anna, butts, and poops, the usual. He also posted a journal entry around this time, adding the word butt to random words as if he was creating a butt-themed dialect. His obsession seemed to be growing. He also admitted to being a pedophile again, though he preferred the term pedosexual, as if it was part of the LGBTQ+. Also,
Oh boy.
he talked a lot on how much he hated vaginas. Christmas, as well as the end of the year, was slowly approaching. On or around Christmas Eve, Nick answered a question stating that he still sees the underage half-sister that he allegedly molested at holidays. He also answered a question saying he physically found someone in his family attractive and wanted to f them up the butt. Not much besides gross tweets happened in 2014. So we go into 2015. 2015.
Yeah, here we go.
2015 started normal. Horrible Nick tweets and Anna answering questions on the forum. On January 16th, he tweeted out that his therapist wanted him to no longer read his Kiwi Farms thread. Nick also was continuing to answer questions on Ask FM, mostly, again, about poop, Anna, and butts. But on January 21st, 2015, he revealed he liked to masturbate with poop. He also called himself a pedosexual on this day as well. But then, something amazing happened. On January 30th, 2015, Nick tweeted out, "Dude, what? No, my half-sister herself is accusing me of molesting her. Obviously I didn't, but I have no idea who to defend myself here. Apparently her dad believes her and wants to call the cops. This is not cool. I didn't do anything." He continued, "My aunt keeps calling me about it. I can't tell if she believes it or not, but at least she doesn't seem mad, so that's a good thing." He continued, "I guess there's the..."
I hope this guy gets arrested at the end of the day. Which I bet in the story he does, obviously. He gets arrested, but I'm glad this guy's probably behind bars. And I'm glad this guy's behind bars.
The fact that I've never actually been alone with her, so hopefully I'll be okay. But still, man, this is uncool. Another thing is that if I were to molest someone, it'd be anal, and it doesn't seem like she's accusing me of that. But I'm not gonna say that until I know for sure she's not accusing me of it. It doesn't sound like it, though. In another tweet he writes, "I'd like to know why my B half-sister did this. She had a good day today, getting to go to the mall and stuff." And he concluded with, "I broke my rule and checked that thread because I knew there'd be commotion about this new development. Reminder that I didn't do it." The next day, Nick tweeted out that his mother believed him over his little sister. With the new development, the image board 8kun started a new board excited that authorities had stepped in, and this was around February 8th, 2015. On February 20th, Nick updated his followers on the sexual allegations against him on his live journal. He wrote, "Lately, I've been on the receiving end of a lot of harassment about my sexuality due to certain false accusations about me. People don't seem to understand that just because I'm pedosexual doesn't mean I'm a rapist. I'm a good person, and I just fantasize about children, and it's no different from any other fetish. I wish NAMBLA would step up their game and do some widespread education about pedosexuality to remove social stigma. Even the most liberal people discriminate against us, and it sucks." But then, he went back to stalking Anna, posting drawings he made of her and tweeting about fanfiction he wrote about her. But word may have gotten out of the claims against Nick in his town, as on March 6th, Nick tweeted that someone spray-painted "Get Out" on his house, and it seemed to not be a fake story for attention, because then Nick added that his aunt was cleaning up the graffiti and was mad at him. And finally on March 10th, we got an update on the allegations against him, with a tweet from Nick that read, "Oh, by the way, a detective talked to me. I'll post about it on LiveJournal whenever I get online. Might be another because of the DST change." He followed up with a journal entitled, "It is not good to be alive." The entry read, "Oh Lord. So a detective and I guess social worker finally talked to me about the freaking allegations. They're convinced I did it. I guess because of the chat log where I said I did it. I told them I was lying in the log, but apparently they don't believe me. They tried to get me to confess, with the promise of a lighter punishment, but I'm aware of how the US legal system works. They promise you'll get off light, but then after you confess, they renege and you're screwed. So I remained adamant and didn't give a false confession. The problem is, no matter how much I deny I did it, and also the fact I've never been alone with her, they still think I did, so I don't know what's going to happen now. For those of you who are Christian, keep me in your prayers and request I don't go to jail or anything. My aunt says,
Dude, I hate to tell you this, but I don't think some of the Christians probably don't like you, honestly. So yeah, you get what you deserve for it's called being accountable for your actions. Like Mr. Weasel said in his live interview, it's called being accountable for your actions.
I might end up with mandatory therapy. I guess that wouldn't be so bad, considering I'm in therapy anyway, but they'll probably try to make me stop being pedosexual or some crap. People still don't understand there's nothing wrong with pedosexuality. It's just a normal fetish like any other, like me and butt stuff or whatever. I said it in my last entry, but it bears repeating. NAMBLA needs to step up their game. Not being pedosexual would be easier. I would avoid a lot of harassment and stuff, but as you all know, I stick to my beliefs, and the right thing to do is to face my persecution with dignity, like any martyr. I just hope one day the world will accept us. They asked me what all online accounts I have. I can't even think of them all off the top of my head, and I forgot LiveJournal and Last.fm, and probably others I still can't remember. I need a hub that keeps track of my accounts. Well, I had one, but it got hacked. Well, anyway, I'm sure they'll find this through my Twitter. My Last.fm is Nick Bate. I don't know why my luck is so I'm a good person. I'm nice to everyone. I platonically love cats and volunteer with them sometimes. I've never done anything bad, and my entire life is dedicated to making life better for wife. Why does life shit all over me? Then, as if the day wasn't bad enough, which is ironic because before that, the outlook looked good, due to today being a dial-a-song day. My aunt then made me do stuff around the apartment, like clean up all the vomit, vacuum, and wash the feces off the walls and doors. And she sprayed Febreze or something all over the place, and I'm pretty sure she wasn't careful to avoid my cups that I had sitting around, so knew I'm gonna have to clean them, or else be poisoned next time I drink. It looked like, after 4 years of claiming to fuck his underage sister online and being reported, the authorities were finally getting involved. The people following the story celebrated at this news. Nick decided he was going to defend himself on March 12th and tweeted out, "I just filmed the ultimate video that should prove my innocence. How do I get it to the detective?" What this video would unleash onto the internet would be indescribable horror. Stay tuned. He began to reply to people. In the replies, he described the video and insinuated that he proved that him saying in the chat logs that he wouldn't lick an underage girl's behind because it was covered in poop is a lie, because he does have a poop fetish. Therefore, he was not telling the truth in the laws, and therefore, he never molested a child. Does that make sense? He also implied he proved this poop fetish contradiction through masturbation, and that he planned to send this to a police officer. Nick then posted a screenshot of a letter he sent to the detective about being innocent. This letter was screenshotted and was basically illegible. The video was then released online, March 23rd, 2015. I did not watch the video, but I did listen to a description of the video from Internet Cool Guy and Weatherman, Mr. Mediker. This is him describing the proof from Nick Bate.
Case closed. 'Cause, smearing all over my genitals clearly indicates that I'm incapable of molesting children. That is a slam dunk.
That's right. Nick filmed himself digging poop out of a toilet and rubbing it on his penis for a detective to watch. Now, Mr. Mediker did a full description of this video in his video. I will link an archive of that below if you so wish to hear it. I decided that it was something a lot of you would rather not have the graphic description of. Just know it was gross and nobody wanted it to exist. People on the farms reacted to this video dropping in horror. This fapping video ruined the day of many internet posters and lolcow enjoyers. Worst of all, the detective on his case was a female. He had sent a female detective video of him jerking off with his own poop. If you are wondering what
Oh
Nick's penis
no.
looks like, imagine a very small pickle. One of those very small sweet pickles, or even just like a pimple. Yes, I did see his pee-pee. I didn't watch the video in full, but I did see the pee-pee.
Oh,
Nick was absent from
no.
Twitter for 13 hours straight
Dang.
at the beginning of April, and Kiwi farmers began to be hopeful that he was arrested. But then soon he returned to post.
You know what? I'm glad this guy gets arrested and does not set foot in an outside world again. And I'm glad this guy's behind bars, and even chat would agree that this guy is behind bars. And I think we can all agree that this guy should be behind bars this whole time. Man.
Posting about butts and feces. On April 7th, Nick answered a question on his Ask FM if he had sexual urges for his underage sister, to which he said he has fantasies but no urges. Things were building up, especially after the investigation began a few weeks earlier. On the same day as this, Nick tweeted out he was painting his apartment because his aunt forced him to after he rubbed feces all over it. He said the feces had been on the walls for years. He took a selfie to celebrate his day of painting. Some good news came days later. An update from Nick was tweeted out on April 12th. What the hell? I got a copy of the report about me, and it says I've been telling people I did it. Have they even been paying attention? It also says we performed analingus on each other, which, A, I only perform, not receive, and B, I didn't even perform. I don't understand. Did the detective not get my email with my evidence or what? Noble Gray Horse posted the crimes Nick was being charged of on April 12th, which read, "The investigation reveals that the allegations of sexual abuse can be substantiated in accordance with the CPS. The redacted account of being forced to perform oral sex on her brother, licking his backside, and him licking her backside has remained clear, consistent, and credible. The blank included details of dates, times, places, and events. This abuse has been ongoing between the ages of 5 and 11. The AP talked to the commander after being informed of the CPSL rights. The AP denies the acts verbally, however writes about the particulars of the abuse in his blogs and to others over the internet. The above situation does meet the CPSL chapter numbers definition of sexual abuse. I'm not sure how Noble Gray Horse got this information, but knowing the outcome, it does seem that this reporting from them is legitimate. CPS was now involved. People were happy, not because of what Nick did, but because it seemed Nick was finally getting repercussions for his actions. Anna seemed excited on the farms. Discussion of Nick spread further to lolcow.farm. Nick continued to tweet as well. On April 15th, he revealed that his sister had now openly accused him of the molestation, and his family was believing her claims. But Nick then began to tweet again shortly after this. No mentions of the investigation, and people believed it was over. But one commenter kept the hopes up, writing, "Don't lose hope because the investigation is over. That just means CPS has nothing more to investigate." Kiwi Farm user Saul Goodman expanded on this. He writes,
At Katsu Kitty has it pretty much exactly right. CPS is not a law enforcement agency. Their investigation was just to make sure is safe. Given that sick Nick isn't allowed near her, no further action was needed from their end.
Remember Saul Goodman. He is a legend in this thread. And then came another huge bomb in the story of Nick Poop Bate. On April 30th, 2015, an article from Lancaster Online dropped, titled, "Columbia Man Charged with Child Sex Crimes from 2009. Let's read the article. A Columbia man is charged with sex crimes allegedly committed against a child 6 years ago. Nicholas B. Stotzenberger, 23, was charged Wednesday with 1 count of involuntary, deviant sexual intercourse with a child and 3 counts of indecent assault of a child. The alleged sex assaults occurred in Washington Borough in 2009 to 2010 when the female victim was between 5 and 7 years old, according to the Manor Township Police. Stotzenberger was arraigned before District Judge Joshua Keller and sent to Lancaster County Prison in lieu of a $150,000 bail. the internet erupted into cheers. And this is not the last good news in this horrendous story. The docket was soon posted, announcing the charges: involuntary deviant sexual intercourse with a child, and 3 counts of indecent assault of a person less than 13 years of age. The next date in the court case was set, May 4th, 2015, and the news made the front page of the popular site, Kiwi Farms. Not only that, confetti was exploding all over the site's interface to celebrate. The next updates came on May 2nd. His preliminary was scheduled 9 a.m. on May 4th. The next day, it was discovered that Nick did not request a public defender, which meant he would be defending himself. Thinking about how he attempted to defend himself to the detective with his video, this did not seem like a good idea. And interestingly enough, Saul Goodman, the user I've mentioned before, announced he would attend the preliminary, which was to take place in a tiny, trailer-looking building. And on the date of the hearing, Saul posted to the forum:
Operation Shit Eater, Part 1, The Phantom Court Date. I'm writing this update from the parking lot outside the Millersville Magisterial District Court, which, like a lot of magistrate first-level courts in the rural US, is not all that imposing. This one is in a double-wide trailer surrounded by a beautiful dandelion-strewn meadow, and somewhat incongruously, a couple rusting truck trailers. I've been in the business long enough to know that at places like this, you should really call ahead. But in my defense, my decision to undertake this mission was only made late last night. The upshot is that there was no hearing. They put that date in as a placeholder, while they tried to find someone in this bovine-besotted wonderland to defend sick Nick. This is not because no one in the public defender's office wants the job. It's just how things often work in places like this. Slowly. The clerk will notify me when the actual date is set. So, at the end of the day, Nick is still in jail. Nothing really happened, and I lost multiple hours of sleep to drive through miles upon miles of manure-scented highway. Although, if I'm to be fair to the cows, it might merely have been the stench wafting across from the Lancaster County Jail. Stay tuned for Part 2.
And then concluded:
Just to clarify, the public defender's office hasn't gotten him a lawyer yet, so the hearing was entirely cancelled. Nobody there but the judge, a couple clerks, and a Mexican dude contesting a traffic ticket.
And with the growing popularity of the story, internet cool guy Mr. Mediker made a video about Nick on May 6th. The video went over the chat logs and told the story in a short fashion of what happened so far. The main theme of the video was that Nick had been openly admitting to his crimes for years, and it was so obvious he was guilty.
So I say to you, the viewer, what do you think? We have Nick Bates, a man who has openly expressed on the internet that he is in fact a who has openly admitted that he's had sexual conversations with his half-sister, who was a preteen at the time, who admitted to a woman he was in love with that he had engaged in sexual activities with that minor. He's written songs expressing his desire to rape and have sex with children. I think when you add all these things up, it's pretty clear that he is guilty.
News of Nick's arrest.
Yep, he's guilty. And I'm glad this guy's behind bars.
Reached further than the Lancaster County headlines and made it to network television. The next news in the trial came on May 13th. Nick got a public defender. And not only that, Maddie, the original leaker of Nick into the lolcow sphere, appeared in the thread to answer questions. She admitted she wanted to make Nick a lolcow by posting him to 789chan, and also admitted it was partially because she wanted attention. And after a bit of a reunion and a trip down memory lane between Maddie and Anna, a new announcement was made. On May 15th, the preliminary hearing date was set to the next day. But after that, there wasn't much news about the preliminary hearing, and nothing interesting happened for a month. But eventually the next court date was set for June 16th, 2015. Saul Goodman arrived to the scene again to investigate for the farms, writing in a post,
Operation Shit Eater, Part 2, Shit Gets Real. I called ahead and confirmed that the hearing is going ahead as scheduled. This time, coming from at Mrs. Goodman's place, the drive took me through miles of nothing but cornfields and cow pastures. Despite some heavy rain, I got here before Nick, so I will have pictures of both him and the party van .tm when it arrives. Stay tuned.
and there he would post the first sighting since he was arrested. Saul posted a picture of Nick looking hairy and overweight as he exited the police vehicle into the courthouse. Everyone was so excited to see the first glimpse of Nick since being arrested. Sure, there were forms and dockets and news articles, but they weren't as tangible as seeing Nick adorned in the bright orange jumper. The memes poured out. And Anonymous posted another update, same day. Formal arraignment was scheduled for July 10th, 2015 at 9 a.m. And after this announcement, Saul posted again, telling the farms he made it to the hearing and was going to drop a doozy of a report of the events of the day when he got home. Upon arriving home, the first thing Saul Goodman posted was video footage of Nick exiting the police vehicle. You thought the pictures excited the internet dwellers? The video was even more satisfying. And then Saul posted an absolute gem. It was in multiple posts. There was no video footage inside the courthouse as the events occurred, but the report this farmer posted made it feel as if you were in the room. Let me read it in full for you listeners. His first post came from June 2015.
In the court now, so can't take pictures. Nick's B-mom and aunt are both here in support. They're discussing his health insurance and poring over a power of attorney document whose purpose I couldn't ascertain. B-mom also remarked upon her support for Donald Trump's nascent presidential bid. He never really had a chance, did he? Update: A's dad is also here, sitting next to B-mom, who now seems conflicted as she is quote-unquote related to both parties. Update 2. In such a small place, you hear everything. Apparently, the defense Atty is going to make A testify at a preliminary hearing, so A's dad is off to get her. This probably means the hearing will be closed. Whatever humor there was to be found here has just evaporated. More updates as they become available.
The next update came that same day and read,
This is rural PA, and to answer your earlier question that this is not the main county courthouse. It's the magistrate, first level court where things like traffic tickets and arraignments, preliminary hearings happen. Also, my phone's about to die, so further updates will have to wait. However, before I depart, I should share the following exchange I had with the court clerk. Her, are you a journalist? Me, yes. Her, with what paper? Me, the Kiwi Farms. We're a website that documents the activities of, eccentric individuals on the internet. Her, eccentric, pauses clearly, thinking about sick Nick. I see.
and then he updated again the same day.
Update. I got to attend the hearing. I will make a full report, although sensitive details will have to be redacted, when I get back to at Mrs. Goodman's place. For now, however, let me just say that I got to talk to the detective, the one who received the email. She basically is Olivia Benson in real life, straight from Central Casting. Tall and attractive with a dry sense of humor, but also quite the no-nonsense authority figure. Whatever they're paying her can't possibly be enough. I'll have a full report later, but for now I'll leave you, dear readers, with this tidbit. She did not know about the farms prior to today. She did know about ED. Now she does, as do several other law enforcement officials who were present. P.S. Have video of sick Nick trudging back to the party van. We'll post later.
And then finally, he posted the big write-up. Same day as all of this. This is long, so just listen.
Operation Shitita, Part 2, Bravo, goes to trial. Since there seems to be some confusion, my recap will begin with some spurging about how a preliminary hearing works in Pennsylvania and other similar states. A preliminary hearing is not a trial, it is merely a check/balance to make sure that the prosecution can't bring unfounded charges. The standard for a preliminary hearing is that in order to go to a formal arraignment at the main county courthouse, the prosecution must show under Pennsylvania law that there is a prima facie case that 1. An offense has been committed and 2. The defendant has committed it. A prima facie case, on its face, in Latin, means that the state can show the court sufficient evidence that if this evidence is accepted as true, i.e. viewed on its face, the court can conclude that a crime has been committed and the defendant probably committed it. This is not about quote-unquote reasonable doubt or gathering evidence that happens during the discovery phase of a trial or arguing the merits of the case. It is once again merely a check on the prosecution's power to charge people incorrectly/unfairly. They have to show that they have some evidence that, if it is accepted as true, would sustain their charges. Obviously, if the prosecution cannot produce such evidence, it would be inappropriate for the judge to send the case to trial. I mention this background because it is useful in understanding what happened today. As you read this, keep in mind that while the defense has a right to call witnesses and cross-examine the state's witnesses, it can only do so to negate the state's case, i.e. show that even if you accept the state's evidence as true, it doesn't sufficiently show that the defendant committed the crime. Again, this is not a time for the defense to do discovery or question the credibility of witnesses for the purposes of a preliminary hearing. Their testimony is accepted as true. Accordingly, the fact that the hearing went the way it did tells us a lot about the defense strategy. By making the victim testify and pushing her as hard as they can, more on this below, they are sending a message that they're going to go after this innocent 12-year-old girl if the case doesn't plead out. My last update left off with me sitting next to the stepdad, aunt, and B mum, with stepdad going off to pick AO up from her friend's house because she had suddenly been called to testify. The three adults do, as several posters have surmised, seem like stereotypical folk. The father, a balding, weathered man in clothes that suggested a physically strenuous occupation, seemed to be genuinely overwhelmed. He commented to me that, quote, "I've never been to a place like this before." I assumed he meant to a courthouse for a criminal proceeding. I replied that I hadn't either. This was indeed the first time I'd been to a magistrate's court in an actual trailer. Although I've been to several that were similarly unimposing, B-Mum and Aunt were genuinely kind and gentle people, not the horrible, intolerant rednecks that everyone seems to think. B-Mum even gave me the pen and paper that I used to take notes on the hearing after I was a typical spurg and forgot mine in the car. And this was after she knew I was a blogger/online reporter, and heaven knows the internet has not been kind to her son. That said, she and the aunt are simple folk. The aunt shares the Stautzenberger family teeth, but B-Mum seems in surprisingly good shape for her age, and do genuinely seem to have convinced themselves that Nick is innocent. The aunt remarked how all the news reports have been, quote, filled with inaccuracies. Editor's note, rates optimistic. B-Mum concurred and said she had turned everything off for a few weeks and wanted to hear more positive stories on the news, given that the father, mother, and AO are still living together. I can only imagine what this state of affairs is doing to the family dynamic. The hearing itself was relatively short, with only 2 witnesses called. The second was the detective, TD, but all she was there to do was the usual, "Yep, I arrested him," and on these charges. She wasn't cross-examined. The victim's testimony, however, was unnerving, even for someone like me who spent a significant amount of time working in courtrooms. Also, I remarked about TD earlier, almost everyone there looked as if they came straight from central casting. The prosecutor was a pretty and eager young brunette, seemingly fresh out of law school. The public defender was a heavy-set, grey-haired gentleman who absolutely oozed with good old boy charm/sleaze. And as you can see from the perp walk, the constable was a total badass. My oh my, did he rock those shades. The victim's direct examination was relatively straightforward. She told everyone who she was, who Nick was, and what had happened. Out of respect for her, I won't go into details, but I will say that the things she described were brutal and disgusting to a degree far beyond what has previously been reported, and that her testimony was both assured and utterly convincing, which made having to listen to it all the more horrible. However, in the middle of her direct, the Sleazy Defense Counsel, SDC, started in with what I consider to be an inappropriate gamesmanship. He interrupted and asked AO directly to speak up. It was a small room, I was at the back of it, and I heard her just fine. I realized better than most that every defendant is entitled to a zealous and competent defense. I think that's a good thing, a wonderful thing even, about our society. And sometimes a zealous defense means callously working to discredit an innocent 12-year-old girl. But it does not mean actively doing things that, at least from my perspective, serve no purpose other than intimidating her. The prosecutor, while generally excellent, which is not surprising, these days you have to have superb credentials to get any prosecutor's job straight out of law school, unfortunately played into this a little bit, in my opinion, by asking questions that weren't necessary to make her prima facie case, e.g., so when you say you sucked it, what do you mean by that? But it was on cross-examination that SDC got significantly out of line. He began by making her repeat/confirm pretty much everything she said on direct and then kept pressing her to be more specific on dates, times, logistical details, including such things as exactly how Nick pulled the victim's shirt up. The prosecutor objected, and her objectives were sustained, on 3 different occasions that SDC's questions constituted a quote-unquote phishing in which he was trying to discredit AO and try the case on the merits rather than contest the Commonwealth's prima facie case that a crime had occurred and that Nick had committed it. Obviously, after the victim's testimony, the judge found that the Commonwealth had met its prima facie burden and sent the case over to the Lancaster County Court of Common Pleas for a formal arraignment/trial. After the hearing, TD, the prosecutor, the bailiff, and the constable were chatting, and TD called me over and asked about my accent. After chatting for a bit, I asked if I could ask her a question in return. So, were you the one who got the video? She replied that she was, but that Nick didn't actually attach it to the email, but rather, quote-unquote, threatened, her wording, to send it to her. She remarked that she had found it on ED in the course of her research, and while smiling ever so slightly, informed me that, quote-unquote, several of her colleagues have seen it. She asked where she could read more, so I gave her the web address. If you're reading this, detective, please allow me to second everybody else here in commending you for your work. You put in a ton of effort and waded through a ton of muck and filth, both literally and figuratively, to help make the world a better and safer place. Anyway, the long and short of it is that A, Sick Nick is going to be in prison for a long time at the end of this. B, a bunch of people in Lancaster County now know, or shortly will know, about the farms. And C, AO is tough as nails. After dealing with what must be an utterly insane home life, even apart from this case, she seems remarkably well adjusted. It's a real tragedy that she has to go through this. I'll answer more questions later, but for now it's time to distract myself with CGI dinosaurs. It's been a sincerely exhausting day. Good night, everybody.
It seemed likely Sick Nick would spend the rest of
Shout out to that guy who attended the case and everything like that. Shout out to him. To that guy.
his life behind bars. Not only that, Kiwi farmers were discussing sending the underage sister a present of congratulations. Days pass, and on June 26th, it was discovered Nick's case was transferred to the Court of Common Pleas. Not sure what that meant. I cannot find an archive of this docket update, so I cannot see what date it was scheduled for at this time. July came, and the next date was coming, July 10th. July 10th would be Nick's formal arraignment. In July...
Yeah, I guess we'll hold off here, folks. Thank you all for watching. I guess we'll pause it here, because that was a lot to take in. So, we're halfway through. So yeah, that's Nick Bate in a nutshell. He got arrested at the end. There's like we're halfway through, somewhat left. But I'll finish this up some other time. But anyway, that's Nick Bate for you. The grossest man online, the original Horrorcow. Thank you all for watching. Feel free to like and subscribe. Feel free to check out my Discord. It's public. You can join that in the description of my channel, or it's also in the video. And feel free to also check out and also shout out to DX Fan number 1, The Silver Bell Show, LTM Editorials and Vlogs, Zombie Kill 4545. He's on Twitch. Johnny the 5'8" and Divincello. And feel free to check out those guys out. And also shout out to Mr. Weasel. I know he's had a hiatus on YouTube right now. He kind of got banned off of YouTube earlier yesterday, I think it was, but I think he's back now. But that's it for this one. Thank you all for joining and watching. I'm signing off, folks. And also feel free to check out the Smack Talk episodes 1 and 2. Episode 1's on the Silver Bell Show, and episode 2 is on DX Fan number 1's channel. So feel free to check them out, or check us out, actually, because I'm part of the Smack Talk. And also shout out to Christopher Cooper 2024.